Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. 7:30 in the evening and it's still 91 degrees. Not sure I'm ready for this crap. What can you do? We got an XL-12 that needs some help. And I actually don't think it needs that much help. But I'd love to get this thing to a point where tomorrow, maybe it's running? I don't know. I don't think it'll be that big of a challenge. This is the one that we cleaned up a while ago. So let's put it back together. I've got the starter torn apart, but let's go ahead and figure out what we need to do for the flywheel. If you guys recall, this had some replacement starter Pawls studs installed. And let's see if you guys can hear that damned cricket. It's taking up residence under the freezer there, and I don't know if that's its mating call or what in the hell's going on. But man, oh man, is it a persistent one. So yeah, these actually look like they've been ground off. So, I don't know why. I would prefer to have the proper screen installed on this. Yeah. I think I should go right. No, it's definitely that first one. Little excitement a couple hours ago. I'm sitting at the computer after dinner, kind of in that post-food delirium where you know you can't go to bed that early, but damn, you're tired. I look out the window and I see smoke rolling by, and not little smoke either. We're talking a big old cloud, steady stream. So went onto the old interweb, and sure as shit there was a grass fire right in what I'm going to call northwest Phoenix. Some would call it southwest Medford, but by boundaries I think it is still Phoenix. And I'm like, you know, this is getting old. People didn't seem to learn a whole lot from our Alameda fire. Oh, look at that, it just broke that spring right off. I think that's been hit with heat. Well, that didn't go so well. Anyway, you know, the Alameda fire 5 years ago, not quite 5 years ago, but close enough, was mostly a result of that really strange east wind, excessive heat. I mean, we don't normally get a wind that's blowing, you know, basically 45 miles an hour out of the east. So when that fire started as a grass fire in North Ashland, you know, that wind is what allowed that to get away and come all the way up into Medford. So if it hadn't had so damn much vegetation, easy burning vegetation to go through, blackberries, dry grass, crap like that. I mean, I'm not an expert on it. This is just one jackwagon talking here, but my opinion is it wouldn't have been able to get nearly as far, even with those extraordinarily weird winds. Yeah, this one's toast too. Look at that. Snapped right off. So anyway, when I logged into the Manor Cam, so whoever runs that does a great job of keeping an eye on what's cooking at any given time, and has the scanners for Jackson County linked up there. I logged in and I see it's just a giant grass fire back behind DNS, a Harley dealer here. Not directly off of there, but in that grassy area behind there that I know for a fact hasn't been maintained worth a diddly poop. I'm like, good God. Do we learn nothing from our mistakes? Every day driving home, I see the mess in the Bear Creek Greenway. Once again, overgrown. Do we learn from our mistakes? No. We don't seem to. We just don't seem to. Well, anyway, June 7th is way too early to be having this many grass fires. So far, ODFW and associates have put out four fires just in areas that are clearly human caused, just down close to the valley here. Shouldn't be happening. I wish people would get their heads screwed on straight. Use a little common sense. There was one today that I read about where somebody was welding a fence post. See, welding produces molten metal, and you're in dry grass. What do you think's going to happen? I don't get it. And even if that was absolutely essential that welding be done, maybe it was. There's this little thing called a fire extinguisher, a piss pot. For those of you that haven't ever used one, it's literally a fire extinguisher that you unscrew, fill with water, and pump up with your air compressor. I pump mine up to about 125 psi, right on the outer edge green. That way I am certain that I have enough there that I can empty it if I ever need to. So there's resources. People don't have to do careless, reckless things. Things that I would probably call, well, stupid. There's no reason. There is no reason at all. Alright. That looks pretty good. What do you know? I do have a screen hanging here, but these things are becoming harder to come by. I'm going to have to find a set of nuts for those. Am I going to get lucky? Am I going to get lucky? Yeah, those aren't locked now. What? No. Now? Is that the right size? It is. Is that still the right size? That is not. Okay. Well, here we go. Man, that cricket is persistent. It doesn't leave tomorrow on its own. I think I'm gonna drag the air hose over here and invite it to leave. Alright, whoop. So I took the starter apart to do the cleaning and discovered it had no inner shield. It does have the containerized recoil spring, which still looks okay. But yeah, the no inner shield thing, that doesn't suit me at all. There we go. All right. I'll leave that out for a second. I'll drop the spring in first. I know I've got a video on this online, but if you are using this later style, see how it's got a solid on the bottom, and then it's got the cutout for the pulley. you don't have a separate metal ring that drops into the bottom here. And if you slip that post bushing on and then slip this thing on and just get it into place, then aligning your rope drum is easy, because it's just going to drop down in there and automatically index when you get to the right spot. Okay, we need a starter rope. I keep my rope spools up there. 3 different sizes. And most of these lengths are memorized. I always burn the end of the rope so that it's always ready to go for me the next time I get there. Just one of those little things that I like to do. I can't tell you how long I've had those spools, but it feels like somewhere around 2020, 2021. One getting a little low, this size here that I use for the Super XLs, but not doesn't go that fast anymore. 100-foot chunk of rope will last you a little while. Alright, this should have had a nylon washer, and I'm pretty all-fired certain that I don't have one of those out here. So I either take the risk of using, yeah, here we go. This one doesn't have a sharp edge on it. I use a metal washer and tempt fate. They started using those because then you didn't have to double knot it in order to not pull it all the way through there, and it gives you a little more room to get the knot out of the way so that it doesn't drag on those starter pawls or the studs. Okay. See how this works. Man, it is hot. Nope, that's going to come out. I'm going to still have to double knot it. Damn. I was really thinking I had it. Oh well. Okay, that's not going to go. Now you just got to make damn certain that that is punched down tight as far as you can get it. And while that seems like an easy task, it's not the easiest. Okay, see, my knot is still sticking up there, and I don't like that. At least need you to get the hell out of the way, buddy. And hopefully you guys aren't looking at a view of the bill of my hat. Alright, so your engine turns over counterclockwise. So you want to wind your rope so that when you're pulling it, that's what happens. Look at that, it just dropped right in. Ain't that pretty? I like that. Things that go as planned. Okay, you should absolutely be able to tighten that down hard. If you can't, something's wrong. Stop and figure it out. Alright, this was missing its starter handle too, or the one that was on it was incorrect. Might have been that. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I pulled this out for a reason. Alright, we're going to give this 2 twists of tension. And that will guarantee a good tight pull on that. Alright, almost got it. Bingo! Some people will tie the handle on and then tension the rope by just putting it in the notch and doing some winds. That works too. I like to put some tension on it and just tie that little half hitch that I just did. It all depends on what you want to do. If in the end you have a functioning recoil starter, it doesn't really matter which method you use. It's whatever works best for you. Beautiments. Perfect. We got us a recoil starter. Alright. I may regret this. I will. If I put that starter on right now, I will regret it. But I do want to test for spark before we go too much further here. The reason I would regret putting the starter on yet is we still need to do the carburetor work, and it's a lot easier to get the high-low grommet in and out around the starter or the carburetor adjustment screws if the starter is not in place. Okay, NGK, hate them, but that plug looks just fine. Let's see if the old blue coil of death is as bad as it could be. And I'm going to say that it probably isn't. Just my guess. Nothing wrong with that coil at all. So that's a good sign. What there is something wrong with is this sprocket. That is not in good shape. So let's get that out of there. You can also see, where'd it go? Right there. See how there's, what did I do? Flint, there we go. Rope or something. That means that crap is caught between this washer and the drum, and see how it's not spinning freely? We're actually turning the crankshaft over. This would have chain creep at idle. So even if there wasn't a lot of wear on that sprocket, we'd want to clean this up. Yeah, see, look at that. That is enough to bind up that sprocket. So whether that was string from a field, a tree, who knows. Oh yeah, still a little bit more there. Alright. Clutch is in good shape. There's no ridge there. So the shoe is right there. Running this tool across the back plate, it's not hanging up. So I don't need to go any further. This is an XL-12. There's not even an automatic oil pump under there to look at. Alright, so now I need a clutch drum. Okay. I'll upgrade that to the rim style. And save that for a rainy day. Perfect. Alright, that is worn out. When you get it cut that deep in, where it's actually cutting all the way down, you're going to have a situation where you tighten the chain and then it's either going to get too tight or it's going to get real loose and then tight, loose then tight. This is worn out. you don't want to take a sprocket a whole lot further than that. There's a washer missing there. There should be an inner washer. What the hell? What's going on, folks? Use the one that came with the Oregon sprocket there. We're going to take the time to clean this bearing up a little, or the race up a little bit, and repack that bearing. This is a step that I know a lot of folks overlook, but it's not one that you should. With parts getting more and more scarce for these things, preserve what you have. This type of grease was always recommended for these things. But when parts were readily available, go away, mosquito. Now I realize this is your kind of evening, but piss off. Anyway, when parts were readily available, and you could go down and buy a new bearing for $2, well, if the chain oil didn't quite do the trick, who cares? Because that was a refrain that I always heard and honestly lived by myself for a while. Ah, heck, the chain oiler will get it. It's fine, nothing to worry about. Well, maybe on a Super 2, a short bar saw. And certainly you're more likely on an automatic oiler saw than you are a manual. Why risk it? Okay. 3/8 sprocket. Good enough. Now, there we go. See? We can't turn the crankshaft over with it now. Nice greased bearing, no slop to speak of. That right there is absolutely normal. I guess that's acceptable slop. And this mosquito, if it buzzes me in the face one more time, I'll swing at it like an idiot one more time. Okay. That has some gray fuel hose on it. And this has fuel that doesn't smell rotten. I'm not sure where I got this saw. I'm honestly not. But based on that, I'm going to guess that it's probably a runner the way it is. But this is the one that I pointed out. We got a chunk of wood and a bunch of JB holding whatever barb in for the carburetor. I can't in good conscience sell this to somebody with it sitting like that. Because if the new owner ever went in to work on it, they'd be like, what the hell is this? And they'd be right. This is one of those job or fixes that you do when you've got a job to get done and you just don't have a choice, but whew. Now, this is a later model XL-12, and you can tell that by a couple of things. The blue coil being one, that puts it at, you know, late 1978, early 1979. UT tag is gone, so we're guessing. But the other thing is this has a pyramid reed block on it, okay? Homelite started doing that towards the end of the XL-12 model run. And that gasket is on the reed block is holding these screws, so we're gonna have to punch that out. Show you what I mean in a minute. Damn you. I didn't get him, but I'll bet that was really loud. Sorry, guys. I'm just not in the mood to become somebody's dinner. Especially not one of those blood-sucking vampires. I hate mosquitoes. Funny part is I don't even know what the hell they'd be hatching in around here. I don't think there's enough wet ground left at this point. Not if we're able to light freaking grass fires. Okay, that feels like that might have come loose. So now I'm going to pull that high-low grommet out. God, did somebody silicone that? They did. There's no need for that. These things seal themselves. All the silicone does is make a mess that somebody else has to clean up later. And if it's your saw, that's you that's got to clean it up later. Just, they seal fine on their own. You don't need to do that. Alright, I've got the tank cracked. The cap cracked open, so... Oh, wow. What the hell? I don't remember an SDC ever having a plastic fuel barb. It appears to be what's on here, though. It is. Someone had to have installed that. They had to have. So weird. It didn't need the stick in there. That repair is actually solid. At least if we can pump it up with the carb tester, it's solid. Let's see. SDC didn't come like that. That's strange. SDC 62A. Huh. I'm 99% certain that that's a... Yeah, it's holding. Rock solid. Is the carb good? I think this carb is good. What do you think? Do we bolt this on and take a chance? I think we do. I think we absolutely do, just for the grins of it. You get lucky once in a while, and this might be that once in a while. But if it doesn't go pretty quick, I'm just going to call it for the evening, because I am not enjoying this heat at all. Okay, we are going to take the screws out. So when I said the gasket is catching those screws, it's the seal in between the reed cage and the retainer there. It hardens where it's in here. So just take the screw and hold on both sides so you don't push it apart and screw up the placement of your reed valves, but just run it in and out a couple times. See that little chunk came out? Just break those rough edges off. And then everything will work better again. Except if you do that. So yeah, these late XL-12s that have the reed block from a Super XL, the pyramid reed, use the Super XL throttle handle. Yeah, that feels pretty good. And all the other Super XL throttle handle components. So the rod, maybe that's about it. But it would be different is the rod and this. Come on, baby. Snap in there. Somebody's definitely been into this a couple times. Had such a mild spring, and then summer just decided to hit with a vengeance. Oh, come on. That's garbage. If you want to reuse your cotter pins on these chokes, Don't get wild bending the tang out. Just find the long side and just give it a little tweak. It's not going anywhere. Alright. I guess I ought to remember to hook this fuel hose back up. And put the starter on and we'll give it a attempted test run tonight. It's Saturday night, ain't nobody sleeping at 8, 10 or whatever it is. If you, whoop, I want to do that. You're asleep, wake up. Alright, I don't see any obvious bad threads here. You want to make sure you get your kill switch wire hooked up. That is a homemade, but it looks good enough homemade. Oops. Looks like I didn't get those screws very clean. Like, not at all. That is also absolutely not the right screw. That would touch the intake track there. That is not correct. We'll get the correct screw in there. 1/8 of an inch can actually matter quite a bit, which I think is what that was off. Yep, there we go. That's the right one. Actually, I could even go a 1/16 shorter, but I grabbed it. We're going to use it. Okay, where am I at? There we go. Always leave them loose until the last one falls on the floor. There's enough slop in these starters where it can shift enough that you can't get the thick wall socket on all 4 corners. Alright. In theory, this should be ready to start. Not necessarily, I almost want to... Might have needed one more wrap on that starter rope. I'll stick with this NGK plug because it's new. I don't like them. Never have. Hell, in the vehicles that I run, I don't even like Champions. But the saws seem to use them quite fine. And that is what Homelite started with, was the Champions. Alright. Plug your ears, neighborhood. Let's see if this old girl will go. Oh, I do want to do one thing. Free this up. Ick. One is sticky and gooey. There we go. You sure don't want it stuck. Especially if it has a bar and chain on it. Folks, the next 4 minutes of this video are some of the best footage I've ever captured of tuning by ear, and a good example of how a carburetor changes when it first runs, especially in a situation like this where I didn't open it up and clean it out. I'm assuming that there's a little bit of syrup, you know, that kind of evaporated fuel, oil mess that can end up in a carburetor. We're working through that, and it's going to change tune, and all of a sudden it cleans up. But the process here that I managed to catch on video this time is fairly typical of what folks can find, especially if they haven't rebuilt a carburetor. So this is really good stuff. You don't want to miss it. Okay. Somebody has been liberating tools from my bench. The shortest small screwdriver is this one. Let's reset this carb. It was a little lean. Okay. Okay. I may have to go into this yet. Okay. I want to see how long this fuel hose is. I'm not convinced that it's the correct length. I don't know why that was so hard for folks back in the day. Oh no, that's fine. That is definitely fine. But I found so many where it's hanging right there in the tank, and it's like, nope, that's not it. Okay. I was tuning on not much fuel left. So I think it sucked some syrup into the carburetor on that first start. Okay, well that's good enough for tonight. I'll do a cold start on it to kind of fine-tune where that's at. Frequently I find on a hot evening like this I end up leaning it out too much. And I may already have. God, is that sweat from my glove? Disgusting. God, it's hot. Anyway, there we go. This was a pretty easy one, but it was one I didn't know anything about. So, you guys kind of saw the process I went through. We cleaned it. That was the big one on a previous video, and then just looking for stuff. That's what you do. You look for stuff that's out of place. Any little detail. And you're never going to catch it all, you know? I don't catch it all. There's stuff I miss. You guys see it all the time. But you start to recognize those common things, and you start looking for them. So, little basic maintenance, and this thing is almost back in action. We'll catch you guys in the next video.